Here we go. Florida Mayhem on the attack. The hooks from Maniton have been so good, and Aaron Logics with the cleanup. Jake just seems untouchable at this point. Houston Outlaws handling the respawns extremely well.
Raining rockets in onto the point, doing as much damage as possible.
Oh man, he is tempting fate.
Outlaws versus Mayhem. The final match is just moments away. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, here at the Overwatch League, and we are seeing the regular season action continue in day 10 already. Two ridiculous upsets. We got Zoe back on the desk with us now, and Zoe, you are hanging out backstage. Monty's here, Noah's here, Crumbs is here, all watching the games. What's it sound like backstage? How's everyone feeling?
Well, I think RIP predictions comes to mind right there. We were all super surprised, positively surprised at the performances we saw today. I'm super happy to see Fusion taking that win over NYXL, and just kind of hope to see more of these kind of upsets.
We're getting a little worried that our teams without a win or without a loss, we're going to start running away with the league. Well, today both London and the New York XL are now handed their first loss of the season, and the games continue right now. As we take a look at the full schedule, you'll see it was a Game 5 for Boston as they were able to upset the London Spitfire. Then the Fusion just pulled off the improbable, taking down the XL. We're going to close out the night. Will it be another upset as Florida Mayhem is looking to join the Gladiators, Boston, and the Shock at 2 and 3? Houston Outlaws, though, well, we know they had a great week 2, and they're back here stronger than ever in week number 3. Please give it up for our first team to the stage. It's the Houston Outlaws. Bonnie and Lynx are leading the charge. The tanks, Muma and Cool Matt right behind them, and this squad is coming off some major wins in week 2. After starting off 0-2, they battled back, taking down Shanghai and the Dallas Fuel last week. Zoe, what adjustments did we see from this squad in our first 2 weeks?
Well, I think the one thing we have to mention is their subbing strat. The subs which came in this last week, they felt a lot more tactical. In week 1, it kind of felt like it was more a matter of, hey, let's give everyone some play time. But yeah, in week number 2, the adaptations were really, really on point. The only real subbing we saw was Boink coming in for Bani when they played Lucio on control map. Other than that, they came out really prepared and they did their homework.
Yeah, in general, I gotta say, one person to point out is gonna be Lynxer. I mean, this guy, when he's playing on point, when he's on the top of his level, which I personally believe we haven't even seen yet in the league. This is the scary thing about Lynxer, because in his game against Dallas Fuel the other day, he was popping off constantly throughout the entire series, and that's not even his max potential. We've seen from Contenders Season 1 what this guy can do in the finals. This guy was ridiculous when it comes to his Widowmaker play, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to show up now against this matchup in the Florida Mayhem.
I mean, I'm just looking out for what type of strategy they will bring to the table. We saw them versus Dallas Fuel last week. They brought out the Genji onto Jake, of course. He can play the Junkrat, and Lynxer can play his fair amount of heroes as well. So what they're going to play today is what I'm looking out for.
Houston looking to improve to 3 and 2 to join Philadelphia there, but they're going to have to get through our next squad. Please welcome to the stage, the Florida Mayhem. Carrying the support. Will he be able to carry them back throughout this series? The Florida Mayhem, one of our favorite teams to watch, not just for their walkouts, but for their gameplay as well. It's the smallest lineup in the league, and they're coming into this match at 1 and 3. Let's talk about what they did well, though, in their first big win over the Shanghai Dragons in week 2.
Well, one thing they're definitely doing well is their walkouts. I mean, they're absolutely killing these. But one player I do want to talk about is Maniton in general, actually. Maniton is one of the players on the Florida Mayhem who's actually the most consistent in my eyes in terms of his play style. He constantly comes out with his off-tank play. He supports his tanks as well as his supports, I suppose, and prevents them from dying with his healing capabilities. And all around, his play has been on a level that's... I mean, Florida Mayhem, they need consistency to perform well, and I feel like he's the key focal point here.
Johnny, who do you think stepped up the most in week 2?
Well, it has to be Logics, in my opinion, because the guy has struggled before on stage, but finally last week he started to pop off versus the Shanghai Dragons. Much credit to Maniton, of course, with the defense matrix on the Diva, setting him up. But if Logics can keep up getting those pulse bombs and getting high noons with McCree, I think it will be a great game for the Florida Mayhem.
Zoe, Florida has not been at full force quite yet. I know you got a chance to talk with the coach. What did he tell you about this squad?
Yeah, their coach Miro told me that their biggest challenge the past few weeks has been illness. They kind of took turns of being sick. The fact that they only have a 6-man roster is a big factor here because no one can really like step in and replace a player who's feeling under the weather.
It's tough to play when you're sick. We'll see what Florida can do. Are they healthy today?
They looked healthy when I walked out, but I'm not a doctor.
They're
so I
able
don't
to
know.
carry Zuppe. We'll see how they're doing today. All right, let's talk about play styles here as you compare the two squads, starting with the Houston Outlaws. Coming into the league, we knew they had one of the deepest rosters. Last week, they went with a consistent roster. When they're playing with this lineup, what do we see?
Yeah, so Houston Outlaws in general, they've had massive improvements over the course of this entire league so far. And I gotta say, part of this is down to this sort of tank duo as well. Moomer and Coolmat, they support the DPS, but also, like you mentioned earlier, Zoe, the fact that they're not fielding some of these players, they're sticking to the tried and tested, which is mainly that Jake Linkser combo of DPS. That's what's working well for them. Now, Florida Mayhem coming into this one, they need to learn to adapt. That's the one thing I've seen missing from them in their games, is their ability to sort of change their tactics on the fly. And if they don't learn to do this in this game against Houston, they may struggle.
Florida has to be worried about that. Zoe, what are you looking forward to in this match?
Kind of everything, to be honest. No, I am looking forward to see what the Mayhem is coming up with. They've looked a little bit more one-dimensional than some of the other teams, also based on the smaller roster, so they don't really have those additional people they can bring in who play like specific heroes for each map. So I feel generally, even looking at the map pool, Outlaws have a lot more they can throw at the Mayhem than vice versa.
Got to be worried about Junkertown. Johnny, let's get our players to watch in this series. You're the old vet. Who are you keeping your eyes on today?
I'm actually looking at the Tracer players for this one. And Tvick is actually the new Tracer player, you have to say, for the Florida Mayhem. And he's going up against Linkser. So these are two, I guess, not really... We don't really know them as Tracer players. I mean, they usually play Projectile. I mean, Linkser's Genji, Tvick's Genji, both their Pharos. But this time they will have to play the Tracer, and I think it will be the deciding factor because both tank duos, I mean, Swoosh and Muma, they will go at each other. And I think Tvick has to win this Tracer duel versus Linkser to help Swoosh here a little bit because Muma is one of the best tanks in the league. And so I think that Tvick needs to be there by Swoosh's side to help him out.
Finn on the left, Swede on the right. Who you going with today? Who you calling?
I'm calling Houston Outlaws, unfortunately.
Houston Outlaws, friend, real quick prediction.
It's going to be Houston for me as well. Hashtag Green Wall.
You were both wrong last match, just pointing that out. Zoe, let's close this out strong. Who you going with?
Oh, I'm bleeding green as well. Houston Outlaws.
There's been 2 upsets today. I'm calling a third one. Let's see if it plays out that way as we set it backstage somewhere. Hex, take it away.
Thank you, guys. And yes, this is bold predictions coming out from the desk. Hex, you know, going for the green wall, trying to play up to the COD fans. They obviously want to get more Twitter followers. I mean, that's really the only reason there.
I just really like that Puckett's keeping them in place. You're both wrong last time, just so you know, but that's why we don't make predictions over here. We're just two guys talking about games.
Yeah, that's the fun part about predictions. It's great. You get to get called out. Maybe you turn into a secret agent like Thorin. I mean, anything can happen. That's the beauty of predictions. And so that's the thing when, you know, when it comes to the desk, you got to have fun with it. And these guys are going to be having fun as well because I think that this is going to be a very even matchup between both of these rosters. It could go either way, Hex. And already, you know, Numbani to start, but we are going to get some of the more creative maps in the pool. Horizon to follow.
Let's just go to 5. Let's round up.
Why not?
Let's go to 5. Let's go to a third map on 5. Let's keep the tradition running here. But really interesting, I thought that Johnny brought up was both of these Tracer players are not necessarily known as these are primary Tracers. And in a league full of Tracer mains, it's going to be interesting to see who gets a little bit better. You saw on the stat screen that overall Linkser are probably playing a little more consistent just with his primers, but Tvick is hitting his sticks, and that can be so important as far as changing the scope of a fight. This map should be interesting because I think Logic's 76 is vastly underrated. Jake's got a good 76 in his pocket as well, so these teams very similar.
You're right to bring up Logic's on the 76. If we did see him go off in these first couple of weeks, it was on the Soldier where he was just landing every shot it seemed. And so, you know, Helix Rockets, the key, that's how you get the snipes, that's how you get that burst damage in there and get the kill. If Logic's is feeling it today,
yeah, the difference between good soldiers and great soldiers is hitting those finishing kills. A lot of people can do the consistent damage and get gold medals. I know personally, sometimes I can even hit silver on Soldier 76, but it's about hitting those Helix Rockets, and finishing kills is going to be so important here as well. Numbani, you could see almost anything, but this is the map where you see heroes that are featured on every map. Soldier 76 on the Ana. Going to be 2 of those coming out for the Florida defense.
it's going to be fun to see Zupe on Ana as well. This is it. You know, whenever we actually get to see Ana come into play, you know it's a good time. That's one of the heroes that really demands quite a bit of skill in hitting those shots and hitting the darts in particular. And so we'll see, you know, is Zupe going to get some clutch plays, or is he just going to be, you know, getting run over? Because that is the risk. When you run Ana, you have very few outs if you get dove on.
A very important game for both teams as they're trying to build some momentum. Of course, Florida coming off their first win against Shanghai. Outlaws took down Shanghai, and then they took down Dallas. If you get 3 in a row, that's called a winning streak, and you want to keep those going.
Damn straight winning? Yes, always that, always. But in the immortal words of Sheep. All right, so Houston Outlaws now. Let's see what they've got in store for us here. I was getting curious there that that Bastion was on the screen for a while, but it is going to be actually an interesting mix-up here because we have Raucus on the Soldier to start things off.
Raucus, the secret weapon who plays a lot of support, was the actual Widowmaker for the U.S. World Cup team. That's how good his hit scan is. They're going to run solo support and just try to bring the pain.
Yes, you can see it's perfect positioning from him. Hardly contested at all, and he can just pump damage into targets. Even with the Helix, not going to be able to find the kill in the end, and eventually he will be able to back off. But then Jake is there to block Swoosh in and do a tremendous amount of damage.
Hammer and anvil action there. Logic does find Muma on the ground, so that's a nice opening pick for the defense. A lot of that space not going to be created by that Winston player anymore. A resurrection, though, will bring Muma back into the fold.
Zebasai, he's nearly got exactly there it is. The Valk will be in play for him very quickly indeed. Banny's nearly got his as well, so they should be able to balance each other out here as we are trading kills left and right. Zebasai finally going to deploy the wings to get 2 reses for himself, and that is what turns the tide here in Florida's way. Well, why not back off when you know that you just forced the Valk?
Yeah, that was a perfect disengagement, and so often fights are won by knowing when to fold them right there. That Valk comes off a little bit late. They didn't feel like sitting in there, and now the cards are stacked in their favor for the Houston Outlaws. Very likely going to see a Valkyrie come in the mix for them, maybe even preemptively.
Yeah, why not? You know, just get the ball rolling for yourself as quickly as possible. Cool, Matt, aggressive as always, a joy to see. And we will have the self-destruct, getting the kill on Jake. But again, nobody was on the point that actually contested it. They stake it right out from under him. Houston Outlaws, they'll get to push the payload for free.
Days since a given up point for free, referred to as another name, now 0 for the defense. That's a rough way to lose one there because they had, well, I mean, they're probably gonna lose that fight anyway, let's be honest.
Oh.
Banny's coming in, he's got the Valkyrie, although they did lose 2 right away, so the Valkyrie was only going to bring them back up to full strength. We talk so much about Valkyrie and its resurrection capabilities, it's still chain healing everyone, and you're not killing that Mercy very easily.
It's fun to see. I'm sure Jack can afford to print a couple more of those posters for these guys, maybe hand them out. You know, just keep that focus. Don't want to be giving those points up for free because that is obviously going to be a costly mistake, especially when you are facing off against the Houston Outlaws, who have been impressing in the past week. Madison, to start things off, though, will find the kill on Linkser. And then instantly, you have the pressure getting applied here by Swoosh, who's just going to go ahead and pull the Primal Rage out. Why not?
Being able to kill a Tracer very early on really limits the scope of the battlefield. You know exactly where that pressure is going to be coming from. Tracer is something that keeps people honest and in check in the back lines there. And with that, Logix has just been farming tanks on the aggressive. Chase will take down Jake as well. Now the defense can solidify exactly where they want to be, right outside of spawn.
Yeah, the angle, exactly. And Logic's good to see him actually hitting his shots to start things off. It has been a little bit hit and miss, but he has seemed to be coming into his own as the team progresses, keeping that pressure on for himself. Tvik with the Soldier, just landing some shots. He's got the self-destruct at his back, but they will get out of range, and Tvik, beautiful shot there onto Raucus, but he will get rezzed Raucus immediately by Benny.
It's been really interesting target selection from Logix in the backlines. You expect Tracers to be really pressuring out the supports, but he's taking what they're giving him, which is a sign of a patient player. He has been killing both Muma and Cool Matt constantly, and that allows him to have his pulse bomb up so quickly. He just tossed it at 50% again.
Exactly. Those big targets make it pretty easy to get that ult farm going. And Tvik is still sitting back here with the tack visor. We'll see if he decides to use it here in a moment. Why? Yeah, exactly. Might want to go for it to try and cancel out this Dragon Blade, but the Transcendence is coming through. That is definitely going to help keep Jake alive as he's looking for the hack and slash, but it's not going to be good enough. And Tvik, key packed. He actually picks up the kill on Banny. That is the end of the push.
Transcendence on both sides. That's one of the great things about Tactical Visor. It is a great anti-ultimate. It's very good against Valkyries, very good against a Dragon Blade Genji. Even if the Genji uses a deflex, fine. I take that. That's a lot of seconds that you're not swiping away at my team.
Exactly. You can turn the tide in your favor. Madison's got to be a little bit careful. He will be able to back off and give plenty of ult charge. Over to his healers. Another pulse bomb for Logix. He gets the flank, and he's still going to be, he should be able to dash out of here intact. And yes, he will be able to make it around the corner. But again, drops a pulse bomb, back up to 50% immediately.
The really important thing thing for Logix as well is that he is staying alive. They cannot put all their focus forward onto the cart. They have to sit in the back line. The angles that Florida is taking have really put Houston on the back foot.
Yeah, cool, Matt. Kind of struggling right now to connect with those self-destructs. He's kind of just chucking them in there. Now let's see. Manitin, it's his turn. Not gonna find any kills. His Logix kind of threw me off there. Gets the pulse bomb kill on Muma, but again, Manny will be able to get those reses off in time.
Manitin just wanted a new mech there, but it does seem like eventually Houston's going to come back into this mix. They have eliminated everybody. Rock is off of that DPS role, now onto the, well, secondary DPS role in Zenyatta, as most Zenyatta's just throw the orb, take it, I'm busy doing other stuff.
The Zenyatas have really been standing out in this league. Players, they're showing that they are so capable. Can play DPS, sure, but then they can still do top damage to Zenyatta as well, while healing their teammates, while keeping their team alive.
Yeah, a lot of that is the pre-fire and run corners with that volley of orbs right there. Another fight breaks out on the cart. Linkser starts it off, the swoosh out of this fight, and there goes the tank as well in Manitin.
Yeah, but we do have the res coming in. Zebasai cheekily able to get it off even without Valkyrie, no problem there. Linkser, however, is just wrecking the back line, pouring on the damage. Swoosh, no way out from him. And well, Cool Matt will collect the kill, but Linkser is doing work right now. His man is on fire.
One of the amazing things about Linkser, and you often talk about this in proportion to his Widow plays, he's a great counter Widow because once he plays a hero to a high level, he understands how to play against it at that high level. I think the more we see him on Tracer, the more we'll see him win these Tracer versus Tracer fights.
Ceiling, it is limitless at this point. We've seen it from Linkser. He has impressed. And well, there we go. Big pick onto Swoosh. Kind of caught out in the open. No real support there from his teammates. And Tavik on McCree. That is the last place you want to be, in the middle of nowhere, out
in no man's land so far. We'll see how Jake's blade goes. He's someone who I consider very hot and cold, especially on his Genji play. Sometimes he looked like the best Genji in the world, and sometimes, well, not so much.
Just covering the angles, covering the doorways. He wants to catch an eye of the the squishy players. I mean, they do squeak a bit when you chop them to bits. That's what Jake loves to hear, but he is waiting for him still, very patiently, and finally he's going to be able to spot out Zupe, and there's Zebasai right in front of him.
This fight is over. Jake is just going to take either his death or his escape route. They had lost too much to continue to go in there. Rock is trying to single-handedly bring it back. He does kill both supports, but given the reinforcement time, both teams will be at full force for the next fight, which may be nearing our last one as we just hit the low 60 seconds.
Yep, there we go. The announcement in game. A minute left for Houston Outlaws to make the play. Fanny has got Valkyrie. They have both support ults up here for Houston Outlaws, so they should be able to outlast the pressure. Logix once again facing up against Linkser. Linkser losing that duel, having to back off and give ground. It's Jake instead who takes his place, hits a headshot there, dropping Logix here on half HP, but Logix will get the support from his team. In the meantime, the push continues on the payload, and Jake, he is still hunting for the back line, but the McCree is back there to watch Zebasai's back.
Logix was on the flank. He missed his pulse bomb on that back line, though. Still into the mix, though. Vic will take down Jake. The self-destruct could be huge. Matt now out of the fight. Forced to pop resurrection is Banny. However, Zebasai has his own res, or Valkyrie mode rather, going on, so we're gonna need a bit of a miracle here from Houston. Jake still got this blade. Can he find it?
And Zupe's been so patient, waiting for the Transcendence. Jake, he can go for the blade, sure, but the Trance is there if he tries to get onto the squishies, and it's not even gonna matter. Logix is there to snuff him, and they just need a challenge on the point once again. Zupe, now that the blade got used, sure, chuck the Trance out. Make sure that there's somebody to contest that payload. And this definitely favors Florida Mayhem right now.
They continue to hold. Just kind of some stall out now. The self-destruct will zone people off of the cart. They just want to keep it alive, try to get a couple kills for the miracle. Jake will come in, but that is too little, too late, I believe.
Exactly, Swoosh is pancaking him left and right. Logix with the final kill on Jake, and there will be no time, despite the Doomfist pick at the end by Banny, just trying to get in there to contest again. He won't make it in time, and they will not succeed in picking up the third point. Just too slow of a start here for Houston, not having enough time in the end to make the plays.
I think you're seeing a little bit of adjustment of roles, and not that they're not mechanically capable of doing it, but working within the team to do it. Jake held on to that blade maybe a little too long, maybe not quite used to the timings of running the Genji on this team, has been playing a lot of Junkrat lately, a very capable Pharah as well, but that blade got held and then popped at about 1 HP, and even Bren would say 1 HP is a little too low for a blade.
And Bren, you know.
The Brenji's the most ambitious Genji.
Take note. And you know, he's just getting pounded as well by the Winston in that fight. Yeah, I'm wondering how much was it to do with perhaps him thinking the Transcendence was there to cancel him out, or the fact that Tvik was constantly next to his healers maybe able to get that flashbang in there and ruin his attempt at a Dragon Blade.
Yeah, but at some point, you do just want to use the Dragon Blade to force out that Transcendence to maybe set up the next fight. I think he'd held it for 2 fights in a row, so you want to use it at the penultimate fight so that your ultimate fight means that you have the support advantage. So a lot of this is that kind of 4D chess of they use this because I use this, and thinking ahead. You have to think 2 steps ahead in Overwatch to set up that advantage, especially on final pushes, which are so defensively favored.
Especially when communication is key. We've seen a lot of great communication today. Wondering if we'll be able to hear what these guys have to say as well, just because we got to hear a bit of Boston earlier, and that's always fun. I absolutely love to hear team comms, especially live during a match, because that's really a window into just how well that team is functioning under pressure as well. And so now we're going to be getting into the second half of this map. 2 points captured and quite a bit of progress made for the Houston Outlaws when they were on the offense, but now we're going to get to see what Florida Mayhem have in store for us here.
Some very unorthodox picks on Numbani defense for the Houston Outlaws. Jake on his patented Jake Rat. Linkser, one of the best Widowmakers in the game, just heroes you don't generally see. This might be a soft read on what Florida wants to run, because a good shutdown for the Far Mercy is a Widowmaker the caliber of Linkser.
Absolutely. Can hit those headshots almost at will. Vic will get spotted out. Does get a bit of information on the setup here. Swoosh is taking quite a bit of damage to start, so he will be getting healed. When does Linkser get into the fight, though? It seems like Vic has been informed, however, that there's a sniper on the map and that he has to be worried about his angles.
Oh, this is cool, going all the way around the backside. This is something that you often see on Eichenwald as well. They do not know he's here, and they're going to try to put some pressure up front so he can come around back and find good targets. However, misses his first shots. Not great for him. Linkser, meanwhile, has taken down Zupe.
So this is chaos. Coolmat canceling out rocket after rocket with the defense matrix. In the meantime, however, Logic's rolling up through the middle. Doesn't matter when Jake is there to blow you to bits, however. And Manitin, running, just backing off. Backing off the spawn and waiting to see if he can't get together with the rest of his team. And it looks like this is going to prompt a change in strategy here for Florida Mayhem. Despite all that ult charge that Logic's had, doesn't matter, he gives it up to go to the Tracer.
Now, one of the issues with that push is that it took a very long time to try to set up that enormous flank, and when that doesn't pay off, you're giving up a lot of time on the clock. More traditional dive coming in now from the Florida Mayhem, but Junkrat is a great anti-dive hero.
Especially when Jake is at the controls, at the commands. Chucking out nades left and right. So Manitin trying to figure out where everybody is right now. This is a pretty quiet point so far. They're holding down the straight, and Coolmat has already started off strong with the kill on Logix. Zebaside not quite got the Valk. He's going to have to pull it very quickly here, but he's already lost 2 teammates, and Logix is about to res up as well, all the way back in spawn. This should be a solid hold here for Houston.
A Valk at this point would be a mistake, and they will not let this diva escort herself off the edge. One final step closer to the edge.
Jake is there to help her off. It would have been more fitting if it was Raucus just to give her the boot, you know? This is Sparta, but not this time, not meant to be.
Nudged off the edge, and we're down to about 140 on the clock. That's time on Numbani for 2 more pushes on offense. The bad thing for them is that they didn't even force out a Transcend on the Houston Outlaw side.
Exactly, and now you're going to have Jake going in with the Riptire. He'll be able to buy even more time. Just goes for the DMAC, in fact. That's a bit of a big play, but Muma will be able to trap Zupe against the wall and pummel him to death. That should sort things out here because the back line already under pressure. Zebasai with the Valk will be able to bring up Manitin and Zupe both, and this is the turning point here. Can Coolmat turn it around? He does manage to drop Manitin, but the big kill's coming through here for Florida, and they are looking in fantastic position to catch this first point and start pushing that payload.
A huge slice onto Banny Post Resurrection. Florida will finally grab control of this point and get this payload pushing.
You just had to, simplify matters. Or Tvik just had to completely and utterly eviscerate the backline, whichever works. If they're going to sit all the way back here, well, Tvik will take that.
That's the kill right there that they needed just after Valkyrie is popped. Clipping the wings effectively. Samurai Sword versus a Butterfly. Not really a fair fight.
Shout out to our observers for catching all that action as well. Glad we got that in the replay. That really tells the story. Makes it perfectly clear just how deadly Tvik can be. And so, I was saying it, but I didn't mean him dying. Linkser, thanks for that. Tvik gets overwhelmed and they aren't able to keep him in the fight. Swoosh decides to go primal here. Batting people around like a kitten with a toy.
The rampage is on as they go back and forth, but Florida will get the better of this, just trying to clean up the cart as its progress was impeded momentarily. That is a nice pulse bomb. Logic's on the link, so maybe not the most value, but it's not about value. It's about sending a message.
We do not respect you.
Exactly. When you're able to pulse bomb the other Tracer, you know she's got recall down, it's gonna hit, and then it's like, I hit you. You're a small target. There's no way I should have hit you. Just Kobe'd it.
Big thing here is that Zebasai, I mean, they are doing a great job of farming up their ults again here. Very quickly, Tvik with the Deadeye now and high ground, and Zebasai decides to pump the wings.
Yeah, because they lost Zupe and they still want to go. Zupe's going to have Transcend that they're going to be able to double down on this. They know they have the window. Also, Tvik, even if there is a counter, Valk, never mind.
Oh, that was the big play. Manitou, though, with the self-destruct. Dead on the point, doesn't find a single kill. And now that you've lost Tvik, Zebasai will be able to res him, but look at that. Oh, man, just hugging him. No ult for you, Tvik. No impact, but he still gets a kill on Jake somehow.
Are you kidding me? That's a rabbit out of the hat kind of play right there. He had both tanks in his face, still drops the Deadeye and takes down 2. That was bonkers.
Tvik, though, man, this is what he's capable of. Makes the magic happen, no doubt about it, man. It's still alive on the point, just trying to hold the line, but Jake, in the meantime, is making well, he says hashing the back line and the tanks as well. Jake, that was the Money Dragon Blade to turn the tide.
Jake will have those giant moments on Genji just like that, and he is very capable on so many players. We've seen a lot of different people today play a lot of different heroes. Jake is that utility knife for the Houston Outlaws.
That is perfect. No flashbang, no nothing to cancel him out, to stop him in his tracks. It's a bloodbath. And so we have 50 seconds left here for Florida Mayhem. They are running out of room. Running out of room for error. Linkser, that was a ballsy one, but he still gets the kill. This stick, swoosh. No way out, and no way either for Zebasai to get the res off on him as well.
We'll see if they have a clean retreat here and are able to get out, because they know that they only had that last push left. They do want to back out. Zabo is getting close to a Valkyrie, probably going to pop it immediately, but if Vanny doesn't die in the next engagement early on, he will gain his Valkyrie ability halfway through the fight.
You can see, following Linkser's perspective right now, we're going to swap over to Jake. He's nearly got the Dragon Blade again. And really, there's no reason to hold back. Exactly! Takes swoosh out again in a big angle. It's going to make it very difficult for Zebasai to find the res on him, or at least buy valuable time. Zebasai does get the job done, but in the meantime, Cool Matt is there to DMEC Manitou. This is all about the hold. Point blank, Jake looking for the reflect, and this time there is no magic for it. Never mind, Tvik still gets the DMEC out of his ultimate.
You will also flashbang Matt for good measure. Vanny will undo all of that work. Zebo now out of the fight. That is a huge source of healing now gone. With that gone, Tvik will fall. Zupe not long for this world either. And the Houston Outlaws will hold on second point. Numbani take the lead over Florida, 1-0.
Swoosh doing the best that he could there at the end. But Outlaws, it looked a little shaky at first, but they were able to get warmed up, get the blood pumping, and recover in the end with a very solid hold in the windy streets. I mean, Florida Mayhem, though, this is promising. We're seeing some different strategies out of them. We are seeing them press the Houston Outlaws in this first map out of 4.
They look very good. The tanks have to be worried on both sides. They've both been dying a lot. It seems like that's the strategy from both sides.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel. we have the 6-man core of the Florida Mayhem.
It's very much a David versus Goliath situation as well when it comes to these roster sizes.
As a 6-man lineup, we'll always get more time together, and that would mean that we'll have better synergy. Team goal is winning Overwatch League.
The big man Swoosh leading the way.
I would also love to prove myself. I know there's a lot of doubts circling around me, and I just want to destroy them completely.
One player in specific, Logic's really stepped up his game.
I'm looking to prove myself as a DPS player and try and be one of the best players.
People forget that this team dominated Europe only a couple of months ago.
Our team goal right now is to be the #1. Nothing less.
We saw, Hex, we saw a glimmer of what the Florida Mayhem are capable of on that first map. Houston Outlaws, they did not get that map for free. There was no hard hold.
No, not at all. In Florida, this is definitely a team where each individual player feels like they have a chip on their shoulder. There's a lot to prove. You talk about one of the most noticeable players on this team and perhaps the league as being Tavik, and some people question, has he fallen off a little bit? At one time, considered the best player in the world, or at least in the conversation of the best player in the world. And I think he's shown just with the swagger that he brought in that McCree. He was getting doubled down on tanks and still just rocks a Deadeye in their face. I think his confidence has not been shaken.
Not at all. If anything, he is really the linchpin of this roster. You know, Logix needs to step up, but, well, let's not say the linchpin. Let's say Logix is the linchpin, and Tavik, he's the rock, the foundation of the roster, where they can still be competitive with Tavik there to do the damage. I mean, 16 killing blows here on that first map, although Logix did get 20. Both of them were going off.
Yeah, Tavik not going to be the loudest guy in the room, but leads by example. And I've talked to him just about strategy and theory craft, and he thinks in the game in a very strange way, an intelligent way that's 3 steps beyond. Guy's a great leader. And we shall see what strategies they want to employ on an interesting map in the Horizon Lunar Colony. I wish at some point the meta would evolve that we would just fight out in zero gravity.
Dude, can you imagine? Like, Winston would just launch himself off the planet. It wouldn't even be fun. One jump back with Winston. Goodbye.
My people need me.
God.
It used to be there would be times where Baby Diva got stalled, right? And the only way she could eliminate herself would be to go outside. And it took forever. And there were times where Lucio would just knock her back, boop her into the air, and it was like the sequel to Gravity, but more exciting.
What has got me excited now, Hex, is that we've got Raucus. We've got Raucus on the Sombra, and I hope he sticks to it. This is why I love watching this map. We see a whole variety of different strategies at play. We actually get to see Sombra and Moira.
Yeah, super versatile team. You're going to see Muma, even for the moment he was on a Reinhardt. He's very capable of playing both tanks. You know, Matt, a lot of people know him only as Diva. This guy was an amazing hit scan player very early on in Overwatch. Another one of those very intelligent, high-level thinking kind of players, too. So we'll see what they want to run on offense. But it is the Florida defense, which seems to be setting up on the anti-dive. You've got Roadhog, you've got Junkrat, hooks and bombs galore. Logic's going to try to pop some heads. A single tank in Swoosh up top. But when you're Orisa and you throw down shields at her rate, you might only need 1 tank. Logic's already punishes Jake for peeking.
There we go. Logic's magic. Whoa, Logic's getting the follow-up on Muma as well. This is not working according to plan here for Houston. Although Raucus is going to be able to get back onto the site if he wants. He's going to be able to hack these health packs as well.
Well, make no mistake, they know he is back here. They absolutely do, because he ran across the point, and even though Sombra is invisible whilst doing so, it does tick off that someone was on the point. Now he's going to push on the point to pressure back, but there is a Junkrat in place. A mine there to try to catch it, but he's made the space for his team, and Linkser will counter-snipe Logix, one of the best counter-widows in all of the game.
Already seeing him go off, and Linkser continues to reign supreme here on the offense. This defense is getting whittled down. Shot after shot rains in, and Linkser, yeah, look at that, he's getting pumped a bit, you know, hyping up the team. They know what they're capable of here, Houston.
Very fitting that Raucus got the kill feed credit onto Zebosai, as that hack onto Zebo means no Guardian Angel ability. No mobility for Mercy means that is dead on the ground. Hacks should just count as kills, in my opinion. At this high level with the coordination, when someone's hacked, they should die. Nice follow-up from his team.
Wow. Yeah.
that's the appropriate response.
That's painful. Especially if you were on the Florida Mayhem. Just getting picked off one after another. Going for the res Zebosai. I think not. Linkser having none of it right now, and he's still alive. He still remains intact.
That's huge, and with the amount of time Zebosai has spent in spawn, he's nowhere near his Valkyrie. Meanwhile, Batty has popped a Valkyrie of his own, and it's just a chaotic Diva trying to buy time on the point. Not gonna happen though. Zebo's still not even close. Houston running roughshod over this final point.
Yeah, this is all Linkser. He just hurls himself out like he is done. He's had enough, but the peels are there. Moma Raucus reacting immediately. A 10-player kill streak here for Linkser, who just cannot be stopped. His entire team are just standing in front of him, a barrier, not allowing Florida Mayhem to get in whatsoever.
Well, Zebo was sitting in hiding that entire time, knowing that there's no way his team's gonna win if he just flies out there and dies. He had to wait till he got his Valkyrie. Now he brings some people back to life. This one's not quite over yet, despite being at 95%, but the kill feed's still all white for the away team as Houston continues to clean up. Off the point for a moment too long. Houston with an impressive display on the Horizon Lunar Colony.
This is the true test here for Florida Mayhem. That was relentless pressure. We're getting a view of Bounty, who did a fantastic job obviously keeping his teammates alive, but Linkser there on your screen. There's no more satisfying way to play Overwatch when you're DPS than when everything is working according to plan. Tanks peeling for you, creating space for you, you feel safe, you just get to sit there with your scope and hit headshots. That's as good as it gets.
It's the best way to play any assault map as well, is to roll over one fight and then take that and win the next fight. It's when defenses are able to stabilize and you have to reset, and you have to worry about ult economies. You win that first fight, you have the advantage in the second fight. You keep winning that second fight, you have all the ults, and you saw really back against the wall for Florida there. Zebo couldn't even come out and heal his team, so his tanks kept jumping on the point one by one, essentially feeding even more ultimates in because Zebo had to wait till he had Valkyrie if his team was going to have any chance. He resurrects those tanks. That's another 900 HP going into the other enemy team's ultimate bank, so very hard to stabilize when you get rolled like that.
Very curious to see what Florida may have in store for us now on the offense. If they're going to go quad, if Vic is going to stick on the Sombra, which would be fun to see. It'd be fun to see if they can do, give them a bit of the taste of their own medicine here, if they can actually come up with the big plays themselves. Logic's on the Tracer, though, has been doing work. I mean, on the first map, Numbani, Logic's, he was leading the way. He just needs to figure out how to get that done now.
Well, I don't think this will be the final composition coming out of Florida, but part of me hopes it is.
Yeah, Doomfist. There's a guy we don't get to see very often. I mean, you get to see him on Dorado defense every now and again, just because of the doorway where you can maybe like sneak punch people. But
yeah, I long for the day when we say that classic Doomfist Moira combo.
That's only because you play DM all day, Hex, and you have control. So, moving in to the attack. This is it, the beginning. Zebasai launches himself up. He is going to be going toe-to-toe with Linkser. And well, Linkser's already got the advantage. He's got the angle on him. So he's going to be having to wait for his teammates to try and cause a bit of a distraction here to give him a chance, an opening to peek out and hope for the headshot.
Yeah, we'll see how good Zebo's Widow is. Not necessarily known for it, but a lot of these supports can flex on and play a lot of different heroes. Manatee gets stuck in a trap, but he's going to get healed up. That actually really helps Zupe get his ultimate up very quickly. Already at 50%. Meanwhile, Bonnie's sitting on 23 and not even charging up.
Look at how quickly Zupe has got this going. That is nuts. And now they can fall back to the point. Jake, though, gets caught by Zebasai. Somehow an angle gets found, but Linkser's there to win the duel versus Zebasai. And so no more Widow threat here for the offense. And that's big.
And that means Linkser can do pretty much whatever he wants as the team tries to come back and retreat. A little odd that Linkser wasn't in position to take down a rezzing Mercy. You saw Mercy looking around very scared like a deer in headlights there, but no punish.
You had Manatee there, body blocking, or the robot shield in this case. And there we go, Banny. You don't get to wonder too long. Coolmac gonna get T-Maxed as well. The pressure is on here from Florida Mayhem, collapsing on the defense, catching him in the corner, and that's exactly what it's all about. Although Orisa is still alive, they continue to reign supreme. Florida Mayhem. It looked a little rocky there at the start. There is still a chance here for Houston to at least challenge. But it's a tough one here.
This absolutely is not over because they are so close to getting their own Valkyrie. If they can get people on and get these kills, they do just that. Tyre comes in, Linkser wins the Widow battle yet again. And now Bounty, during the next fight, will have his Valkyrie. So any advantage they could have had pressed with Zupe got shut down. And so far, only 2 ticks. Defense holding strong for Houston.
It's so touch and go, but when you have guys who are just popping off consistently, the way that Linkser is, just dominating a map, anything is possible, any kind of read. Jake catches Logix in a trap and gives him a face full of shrapnel for his trouble.
They put Linkser over here so that he gets pressured by the Tracer, and they put the trap right around the corner so the Tracer tries to come pressure in Linkser, boom, you're dead.
It sounds so much better when you actually describe it, Hex. Kind of hard to catch it on the fly there, you know, just the depth of the mind games.
I've played enough Tracer to know how Boom Ya Dead feels.
All right, Vic. No, that is not what you wanted. A frag grenade right to the face. Linkser, though, knows that he's going to go for the angle, exactly a little shoulder peek.
Well, they should know right now also that EMP is up. That charge rate is so fast, and so now they're trying to spread out just a little bit so not everybody gets hit by it. You are going to lose some people in the back lines, though. Transcend now out, as is Valkyrie for the defense. Jake, very, very low, will get taken down, but insta-res.
Curious to see, Linkser playing the angles right now, not allowing Zebasai to catch him for free. Zebasai backing off. Somehow they're avoiding each other, and in the meantime, Jake reigns supreme. Tvik is gone. He gets the Riptire onto Swoosh as well. And this is fantastic for Houston Outlaws when you can count on one DPS to just get kill after kill. They still need to contest, though. Coolmat doing the best he can here to buy a little bit. And Muma, well, he's set up shop with that barrier and the short cooldown on it as well. Just keep holding on to just a corner of the point.
Simply not a clean enough fight for the Florida Mayhem. What you're relying on from the Sombra is an insta-kill of the other team, because resurrecting a Sombra is all fine and good, but she's only run for her utility, for that EMP, for those hacks. You bring her back up, and yeah, she's got a big clip in that gun, but it doesn't do really enough. So you want to get 3 kills off that EMP and then continue to clean up. Luckily, EMP charges very quick. They're going to get another shot at this.
Nice hack there, a little bit of a sneak. Muma caught by surprise, but he's perfectly fine with that. Still alive. Gives a little bit of ult charge over to his healers. And in the meantime, Muma, there it is. The EMP charged up, but still Linkser and Jake both finding kills. The res is going to be coming through here for Zupe, who will just cold res. Logic's no Valve can play.
Zupe's so low, there was no other healer alive as well. Zebosai died early in that fight. There was no healing on the point for the Florida Mayhem, and Jake will mop it up. Supercharger on the point as well, so everyone's dealing all that extra damage. And that is a full first point hold for Houston.
Fantastic work from Houston, and again, you have Linkser on your screen, and yes, it is a team game. Coordination, communication, setting up your teammates, it's all important, but when you've got a guy on Widow, that's where you really get to see some skill shine. If he's just gonna keep hitting headshots, no matter how improbable they are, and that is gonna make your life so difficult if you're on the offense and you're constantly running into that wall.
You put the fear of God in them, and actually they're working that Widowmaker and Junkrat combo really well. Now that's something that we don't say a lot, but it's definitely working out for them. Houston comes out to a blazing 2-0 lead, but don't go anywhere. We've seen reverse sweeps before.
Indeed we have. It does happen, and we have, well, had 2 series go to 5 maps today already.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
season continues, and I see a very happy Matthew Rodriguez, a.k.a. Flame, the GM of the Houston Outlaws, up in the Sky booth. How you doing up there, Flame? 2-0 start here for the Houston Outlaws. We got Bren, we've got Reinforced back in action once again, and let's talk about what we've seen so far in the first half. So far, today has been a day of upsets, but in this series, well, it's the squad with the better record, with the advantage. It started off with our first map, Numbani, and to be honest, it looked like a pretty decent final hold from the Florida Mayhem. Houston was switching things up quite a bit on their attack.
Yes, it actually did, and it plays into the tank talk we've had throughout the day, really, with Swoosh being a more aggressive Winston. He shut down the dives from Houston Outlaws pretty well. He didn't give Jake or Linkser a lot of room to work with on the Houston Outlaws part of things. So I think that this matchup in general started to look like it played into Florida Mayhem. And throughout this point, because the point itself is so long itself, it's so hard for Jake and Linkser to reach those backline support members of Supe and Sebosai, of course. So I thought that this matchup could actually take a turn for the better and actually have Florida Mayhem coming out on top.
We saw a chance there for Florida, Bren, but Houston shut that chance down when it was Florida on the attack. What did we see?
A lot of Jake, to be honest. That's the guy I want to talk about because his blades in general were fantastic on this map. Not only can he play Junkrat, but he can also play Genji as well. Who would have known? But yeah, he had a great performance all around. I gotta say his Junkrat play in addition to his Genji play was very good. And I felt like Florida had trouble sort of adapting to it in a lot of ways. They were not really playing around it too much. It's difficult when you're not as accustomed to playing against these spammy sort of compositions. You run into like mines by accident or whatever, you get picked off very easily because it is very much a pick composition, especially when you've got Linkser running around the backlines on the Tracer, finding kills here and there. It can get a bit messy when your team's not as coordinated.
All right, shout out to the SR Slurper in the background there. Johnny, let's talk a little bit about our second map as we go into Horizon. Again, this one looking okay at moments for Florida Mayhem, but eventually it's the Outlaws powering their way through. As we run the highlights, talk me through some of it in the first half.
Well, it barely looked good for Florida because, in my opinion, it was okay. Logis got a nice headshot, but overall, it looked like it was the Linkser show on the map throughout. Because I mean, Linkser was just popping off on the Widow, and I mean, we saw towards the end of point B, Linkser was on a 10-kill streak. I mean, he was just popping off on this Widow on both attacks and defense.
Yeah, in general, he was a pretty big nuisance for Florida Mayhem, and they kind of just tried to ignore him. And this particular clip here, you'll see, like, they just don't even look at him. They're like, okay, if we ignore Linkser, then maybe he won't get the kills and we'll be able to take the fight. But you just can't do that. In fact, it leads to their downfall. They realize too little too late that they have to deal with him, and it ultimately ends up with Houston Outlaws taking the map in the end, as you can see here. This is the final moments of that one where they capped up that last checkpoint.
They scared Florida off of the point while Florida was playing defense. That's something we don't see too often. And let's talk about the issue here in the first half. Linkser so far back. Jake, such a distraction up front. How do you eventually shut down these players, the DPS duo of the Houston Outlaws?
Well, you have to focus one part of Houston Outlaws. Either you shut down Muma or Coolmat, but Florida Mayhem didn't successfully do that. So that meant that the Muma, of course, kept making space for Linkser, and Linkser can just stand in the back line. So either for Florida, you need to swap to a dive composition and just focus on Linkser, or you need to focus down the tanks with perhaps a Junkrat to shut them down.
Bring it out of Junkrat. What about you?
Me personally, I actually think you need to focus more on the supports of the Houston Outlaws. Raucus in particular, there's a nasty little statistic that I can bring out actually from this the first map.
You won't.
Yeah, I'm bringing it out, mate. Don't you worry. Listen, Raucus had crazy damage numbers. So it ended up with Zupe having 11% of his team's total damage dealt, and that's the percentage. Raucus had doubled that, 22% on the first half. Ridiculous damage, and he had about 30 seconds faster Transcendence build times compared to Zupe, which is crazy in the grand scheme of things. If you're getting half a Transcendence faster than your opponents, you're going to be at a bigger advantage in all of these team fights that are kicking off.
Some ridiculous numbers from the support player Raucus. And speaking of Raucus, he was on the squad last week when they faced off against the Dallas Fuel for the Battle for Texas. Houston walked away with a big win, and we got a chance to catch up not only with the Outlaws, but their fans as well. Let's take a look at all of the biggest reactions from around the world in a show we like to call Social Studies. Well, today you're in for a real treat. We kick things off with the Battle for Texas. Dallas Fuel going up against the Houston Outlaws. Yeah, you guys can cheer. Let's make some noise.
Powerful, and here it is. Jake was looking for the opening. He's got the Dragon Blade, and it's time to hack and slash. Effect not able to get the flashbang off in time. And look what happens. He just murders the back line.
This is a team that when their communication is weak, and it seems like that's their problem, is that their team play and communication are weak. The hardest punish possible is when we're diving them as one. Like, Dallas is not doing that at all. So dive is an extremely punishing comp against them.
Yo, let's go. They said, do they have any? Woo! Woo! Let's go! Who runs Texas? We run Texas.
Houston runs Texas, apparently. Congratulations to the Outlaws with a big win over Dallas. And for all the fans that made it into this episode of Social Studies, keep tweeting your favorite teams all league long as we get a chance to show you in a future episode. That's going to do it for the halftime show. We go into the series with a 2-0 lead for the Houston Outlaws. We'll find out if Florida can bounce back. Ilios is coming up next when we return. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.
Overwatch League represents a different direction than esports have taken in the past. A global community of professionals for a truly global league.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. It is time to get into the remaining 2 maps of this series, maybe 3. It's always possible that Florida Mayhem can run it back here, Hex. We have seen it before.
Well, today it's been a day of surprises and upsets, and the Gladiators have run it back before on people, so it's definitely not over yet when it goes to 2-0 into halftime. could be going to 5, but Houston has looked pretty dominant so far. We are headed to control, which is why you see Boink coming in for Bonnie. Boink is going to be their Lucio specialist. And with Ilios, a lot of environmental possibilities there.
Absolutely, because you can get that bump. I mean, you have so many places where you can get a boop, you know, just throw people into their deaths. We've already seen the Pit of Despair today once. Maybe we'll get to see it in action again, and certainly we will. We've got the Houston Outlaws fans here in the house, and it's a good day for them so far. 2-0 lead right now for the Houston Outlaws going into this third map. And well, now we have to kind of piece together what we can expect to see here from Florida Mayhem to start things off.
Well, I think the first map we're going to be on, despite this windmill on the intro, is going to be Ruins. Ruins, Widowmaker, they go hand in hand, and God, that's a tough ask of any Widow to go against Linkser.
Especially after that performance on Lunar Colony. That was unbelievable. It just didn't seem like he could miss any shots. The guy was on point. He was just popping off left and right. Hitting headshots is what the man is paid to do, and he certainly delivered. So, Linkser, he will be certainly playing that Widow. This is going to be his turf, and it's going to be a question of whether or not Florida Mayhem are going to be in a position to handle the heat. And so, countdown has begun, and we are live fairly soon here with the action. 30 seconds, allowing for the teams to, you know, get a little bit of a breather in.
Just looking like a modern-day Game of Thrones, the Titan of Bravos out there, and the cruise ship.
That is a sick cruise ship. I would be down to go for a good cruise on that one.
Little known fact, 14 shuffleboards on that cruise ship. Always an open board.
I'm sure that they have the pool table on gimbals as well. You know?
Yeah, oh, those are amazing.
Those are sick, aren't they? I want to try one of those, see if it actually works or not. All right, guys, let's get into the action. This is it. Florida Mayhem, 0-2. Fighting for redemption, fighting for a chance. They need to win this map. Houston Outlaws, this is what it's all about. It's going to be Muma leading the charge here, right side, right flank, and it looks like they both had the same thing in mind, both teams. Just dodging, Muma. What are you doing, buddy?
Just ducking and diving, dipping and dodging. Still looking for that first blood here. Jake on a hero that he doesn't play a whole lot on the Tracer. We'll see if he can make his name. Logix draws first blood as Rockus goes down to the headshot. Zupe will add that in. It is a 6v4 in favor of the Mayhem. Boink will try to even that score.
Very close, but he does manage to get an angle here. Linkser not hitting the headshots, but he is connecting in the end, and that could open him up here for a shot from Logix. Logix, however, has been spotted, and so Linkser not likely is going to get caught off guard. Man, taking risks, and there it is! The headshot on Logix. No way for Logix to dodge.
Very nice for him. If they can stabilize just a little bit, it will be Linkser's show to run here. He will be the maestro on this field as there will be no counter Widow pressure. The reason why Widow's so good on this map, it takes a long dive to get in on her, and if the rest of your team collapses and helps you out, the rest of the team dies in turn. However, it is mostly Houston dying. Boink will have to pop that Valkyrie to bring them back to life. However, Zebo's got his own.
Exactly right. Zebo did pop his first, though, and so his will be warming, well, actually leaving earlier as I see Logix continuing to reign supreme here in this Widow duel. Linkser not quite able to give us the repeat performance, and so Florida Mayhem now off to a very solid start. 40% rather already gathered on the point.
It's going to be even more difficult for Linkser. Not only do they not have control of the point, but Logix about to hit his ultimate, about to be able to see through walls. Such a huge advantage in these Widow v Widows. Tvik showing up huge, takes down Rockus, who has fallen first in the last several fights.
Just styling on him, and he sees the opportunity to follow up on Jake as well, and Tvik right now just running game. The Houston Outlaws, he's got him by the horns, and he refuses to let go. Another pulse bomb goes in as well, and Muma, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to deal with this anymore. Manitin will have mercy. End the suffering.
Tvik showing why he was widely regarded as one of the best heroes in the world for a very long time. Showing up on his Tracer right there. Florida in full control of this control point. Houston Outlaws down to their last fight. They will only have one support all to go with. Rockus has died early in this fight. He might preemptively transcend to get onto the point.
And it looks like Linkser, he's already changed it up. We've got a Genji in play here. He is tapped out, not willing to take the fight. Rockus and Cool Matt finding kills though, and that's Logix under pressure. Already, Jake will be able to get the drop on him, will find the kill. And that should be a bit too much to handle here for Boink. 99, he's got the Valk, could pop it here if he wanted to.
He needs to save this, though, because they know they're going to be facing a Valk on the other side of things. You want to hold on to those ultimates as long as possible. You want to stagger Pilot Diva as long as possible. They do just that. And at 99% on the board, Houston will take their first control of the point here on Ilios.
Switching into full dive. Seems like they really did manage to come into their own fairly quickly there. As Linkser, he's nearly got the Dragon Blade already. He has done a tremendous amount of damage on the Genji to start things off here. And so now Pulse Bomb ready to go here for Jake. We'll see if he manages to catch somebody unawares with it. Already a bit of a skirmish. Hey! Triple headshot. That's a good sound if you're Linkser. That's exactly what you want to hear.
Logic's very low in this fight. Almost trying to get up to the ultimate. Here comes a blade from Linkser.
Not the most eventful blade, unfortunately for him. Not quite picking up the kills because his teammate was there to rob him of the glory. Jake was getting some work done, but this is going to shift over for Florida Mayhem. A lot of yellow in that kill feed right now, and it seems like they should be able to come out ahead. Now it's just a matter of trying to buy time, stall out here. If you're a Linkser, maybe get the pick on Tvik, but the recall will be there to save the Swede.
With Rockus taking out Zeba, that is so much healing now off of the board for that team. Trying to bring it back just a little bit. A nice dash through, a nice Helix rocket as Logix has switched off of the Widowmaker himself to get back to the point. Still though, Florida might be losing too much in this engagement and they're still committed. Yep, that will not be a jump off the edge. Houston holding strong so far. This may be the last fight going into it, and Houston with an enormous advantage. The check mark by Rockus' name means he is ready to reach the higher plane and transcend, keep his team healthy. Boink also with an enormous advantage on his Valkyrie as well. With 2 support ultimates up, this is Houston's fight to lose.
Switching it up for the Genji, what a huge play. Immediately Linkser looking for the back line here. He will get the D-Mech, at least to start. Needs to follow it up though, and Logix will shut him down. The flashbang perfectly executed, but Boink is there to get the res, cancel out the play. And they seem to be holding here just fine. Houston Outlaws, no way for Florida Mayhem to challenge, and they run it back. Hex, that is disgusting. And well, if anything, Linkser, his ability to stay alive in the fight previous to this one was absolutely unreal.
It was a great job by Florida to win the first half of that fight. To be able to put Linkser in check on the Widow by Logix, and it was an amazing feat. However, how do you deal with Houston's plan B? They got plenty of them. So they switch up their heroes. No great answer comes out immediately, and once Houston held on to that point, they never gave it up again. Steal away the first stage of Ilios.
So moving into the follow-up, the windmill, the pit of doom and despair. As I'm sure we'll be seeing it exactly in just a moment's time. And sure enough, we get the fly out here, and we will be able to get the camera third person. Jake already launching the grenades in there, hoping to do some of that frag damage.
Interesting, no Lucio's on the field. I thought that's why they were going to bring Boink in. Clearly just want to get him some play time as he's been on Mercy exclusively since they brought him in. Nearly mirrored compositions, except no Tracer for Houston. They are opting for the Jake Rat.
Jake Rat, and we have the McCree for Linkser as well. And so we'll see. I mean, we're going to get to see quite a bit of Linkser's depth in his hero pool. Because for now, at least, it's Jake. Oh, he was going for the Kobe, but he doesn't quite connect.
Close enough to push them back, and first point capture is so important on this stage in particular because look at the area of that point. So hard to completely evict a team. Once they're in control of it, you need to win a fight very cleanly.
They'll be looking for the convincing one, and now that's it, exactly. Linkser wanting to keep an eye on where that flank Logix is going to be playing from, and he's going to run right into Tvik. Tvik hangs in there for just a split second and does manage to get the kill, the parting shot on Muma. That was big. Maybe a chance here for Florida Mayhem unless Linkser has something to say about it. That's just puts Swoosh out of his misery.
Matt going to be kicking himself because they had Tvik stunned and dead to rights. Matt booped him out of his stun into the opposing team, and they lose Muma because of it.
And Jake, there we go. He's trying to turn it around here. Florida Mayhem hanging in. They have capped or flipped the point over in their favor. They're starting to gain percent. That is going to be so important for him here. And that is a self-destruct somehow that catches Rockus.
It's one of the ways to flip the point over. You force the fight off of the points into the corner, so even the people who survive are not being effective at capturing the point. You have people step back just a little bit there. Zebo tries to get out just momentarily, trying to stall as much as humanly possible. They will continue to do so. Deadeye will take down Matt.
Committed. And I bet Matt thought that he was safe. That's it. He did his job. He was going to get a new mech. Guess what? Bullet to the face. You denied. It ain't happening, and Linkser has to give ground here and wait for his team to gather up around him. They need to take a fresh push on this, and Florida Mayhem continue to climb, extend their lead.
And enough time as Manitin stalled out that point, lost his mech for it. An entry kill from Zupe onto Linkser. This fight is all but over already. That is so much firepower now out of it.
Oh, unbelievable. They even managed to get the D-Mech on Cool Matt That's going to delay things further. Cool Matt will get snuffed by Manitin, actually. So Manitin not letting him buy a little bit more time there, stay alive, enjoy this fine sunlight. Instead, decides to end him and let him respawn back with his team.
Tavik on the sneak, gonna be crouching so that his spurs don't jingle. They can't hear him. Gonna try to roll around, catch someone at the flashbang in the back lines. Meanwhile, Jake is in. They're pushing so far back here. You've got to get kills to make this worthwhile. It is not. Taking down Raucus is not what you wanted to give up both lives for.
Not at all, although Logix is holding the line here. If he can get the follow-up on Cool Matt, this would be big. Yes, he will be able to do the work. Just needs to stay alive long enough to contest on the point because they are about to flip it here. Houston, he needs to tap it again, and it's not going to happen. Logix can't make it.
That's absolutely fine to pull back there and just let it get to 99. You have a couple more fights to be able to win these and then bring it back. You don't want to feed anymore. You don't want to stagger anymore. A nice retreat there from Florida.
Logix doing excellent work right now, just staying alive in the back. Putting the pressure onto Muma. Linkser will get overwhelmed by Manitin. Boink, however, there for the respawn, for the resurrect, rather. And it will be Tavik getting dove on. Still intact, however.
Cool Matt did such a great job of putting pressure on Tavik back there. He wanted to line up that Deadeye to be able to take down the ulting Mercy. He got pressured out, unavailable to do so. And we are in overtime. But Houston will take it back. Florida had 99% of the last stage. Don't want to lose this one at 99 again.
Absolutely not. Play it safe. Take your time. You have 2 ultimates to work with right now. If Tavik, I mean, knowing how sneaky Tavik can be, if anybody can find an angle to catch Houston Outlaws off guard, it's got to be him.
It was an unnecessary risk they took last time being that sneaky, though. They're trying to win the fight without actually fighting, and it really backfired against them.
Got to come up with a creative play sometimes. Especially when you're the underdog, you need to try and find something to destabilize Houston.
Vic still has his Deadeye. Linkser has popped his to no avail, but now it is time to go. The fight has to come out. Wouldn't be surprised if Manitou tries to open up space with a bomb over top, but they got to deal with this tire first. Jake being very patient.
Taking his time with it. Oh, nearly finds the one pick on Swoosh, who barely hangs alive there.
But that means Zebo's going to be able to charge off Swoosh, and he's going to have his Valkyrie. They can come in, it gets popped right away.
Yeah, preemptive. Oh, picked immediately by Linkser. Oh. There it is. That changes everything. Now it's a matter of hanging in, but without the mercy for Florida Mayhem, they are going to get whittled down. They just do not have the healing output to keep their teammates alive. Fantastic work from Linkser. If there was a kill that would have made the difference, that was it.
That may very well be the set clinching kill. That wasn't even a Deadeye. That was pure mechanics from Linkser, one of the hit scan gods from Europe. Linkser goes to town. He can even zone out. No need. Houston Outlaws will win the series.
What remarkable stuff from Linkser. These past 2 maps didn't really get to show his mettle with the Widow play, but when it turned to McCree, he certainly got the job done. A clean 2-0 victory for Houston Outlaws on the control map. We will have the payload map, the escort map, coming up to close the series out. If it comes down to a tie between both of these teams at the end of the season, that's when these last maps will matter most.
On a team full of all-stars and World Cup players, Linkser has found his home in Houston, being their ace.
And this is it. Bit of the slice and dice, bit of the chop.
Let's go! Let's go! The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel.
A league that offers opportunity for talented competitors to test and push our assumptions about how the game is meant to be played.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from Los Angeles, California. Welcome to the Blizzard Arena.
Welcome back, everybody, from the break, and I wouldn't be surprised to see like the Transformers come crashing through the screen at this point, because that is some straight like Michael Bay music going on at the trailer there.
We should have ended it with one of those really cheesy video effects of just fire.
Fire everywhere across the screen. Yes, I love these hype videos that we've been getting, you know, coming out. Shout outs to the media producers here at the Overwatch League. Banny, you'll recognize with the wink, is back. He will be subbing back in place of Boink. And while the Houston Outlaws now, they sit comfortably 3-0 in this series. It means that they've won the series, but they still want to close it out 4-0. The maps at the end, if it comes down to a tiebreaker, the maps matter. And so you need to make it as clean as possible here if you're the Outlaws.
And for Florida, you really just want to take a 0 off the board. They had built some momentum coming into this match, taking their first series against the Shanghai Dragons. But now you don't want to get 4-0'd by an opponent team. Houston is now on the verge of a 3-game winning streak. Their first game of the Overwatch League was against Philly. A lot of people thought that was a big upset and a surprise, but given what Philly did, that's looking a little bit different now, and some context as now we have a little bit of history to build on in the Overwatch League. Our fourth and final map will be Junkertown.
The joy of it, Hex, is that this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
We still have months of good Overwatch, months of opportunity for these teams to keep improving. I mean, Boston and Philly today, man, they slayed the beast.
We're on chapter 1 of War and Peace here. We are building an eternal novel.
That is a long time, okay. That book, otherwise used as a brick to build houses with.
See, I use it to put on my shelves so people think I'm smart.
I mean, that's also...
My literacy level is back of cereal box. That's my grade
Milk
level.
carton.
Yeah, pretty much.
That would be a perfect book to have there as well, with that title. All right, enough of that. Let's keep moving here. It is 3-0 for Houston Outlaws, moving into the final map of this series. Houston Outlaws on the attack as the away team. Florida Mayhem will be on defense and all ready to start things off. Zebasai.
That is an interesting wrinkle in the defense here. So far, they're kind of set up in an anti-dive. This is largely to deal with a pirate ship. So a lot of teams will go for a Junkrat early on so that he can build up the tire, but with the shields in the way, that gets very difficult. You want the tire to be able to dislodge. What Zebo is going to do is try to just harass, make sure that the supports are uncomfortable, keep getting packs, and then EMP the cart. That means there's going to be no shields around, and they should be able to crush any sort of Bastion push.
Yeah, no, speaking of Bastion, speaking of the beast, it will be Raucus on the robot. Now just a matter of getting him up on that payload, as Jake is on Hanzo, and we will have Linkser on the Widow as well. Very exciting strategy that Houston Outlaws have elected to go for here. The double sniper Bastion, so much pressure. And they even try for the Hulk combo there. Jake not going to connect, but still, I like it.
It's a crossfire sniper strategy. You'll get caught up in it. And they're going to put Linkser on one side, Jake on the other, and then pull people off of the bridge so that they can drop them once they do so. No need, as Logix gets a little too big for his bridges and is treated to a Robin Hood treat to the dome.
That shaft of wood. I mean, Linkser wins the duel versus Vic as well. And this is interesting. Raucus all the way up here in the high ground. Barrier to protect him as well.
Yeah, a little backwards barrier, little style points there, but be where they don't expect you to be. They expect him to be on the cart because of his lack of mobility. He's in the back and he's just chipping in so much damage. Now snipers don't even need to hit headshots. The only mark on the board for Florida as Jake is taken down by Tvik, but that is it. That is a very easy first capture for the Houston Outlaws, now trying to get themselves a little bit of space. They want to set up their Bastion on the high ground to deny all access. The problem is someone has to be on cart pushing duty.
Yeah, preferably 3 of them as well to get it moving as quickly as possible here. But Raucus has got tank mode. Tvik, however, will find the shot on Muma to start things off. Muma kind of caught out in the middle of nowhere. Perhaps not expecting the Widow to still be in play?
Yeah, I suppose not. It's a pretty big hitbox onto the Orisa as well, so those headshots are going to be very damaging on her. Zupe and Bonnie will both have Transcend, or excuse me, Valkyrie for this next fight. Tank mode is going to be in play, but sometimes you just want to stay in that configuration turret. More damage output, less vulnerability.
Exactly right. There we go. Tank mode immediately as he spots him. Nice play here. Good use of mechanics to get some high ground. Raucus, though, We'll be going to town. Manatee not long for this world. The follow-up on Swoosh, and just like that, the defensive push that Florida Man were trying to make work just gets completely obliterated.
You want to use tank mode when something else is going on, because tank mode means that your rate of fire is very low, and if you miss one shot, you're going to get focused and destroyed. They did it while they also had the dragon arrow coming out too. So the dragon is cutting the team in half. Raucus is able to pick out the targets that he wants. Not very vulnerable in that situation, and that leads to another quick capture of second point. They are rolling here on Junkertown.
And in the meantime, Jake is here. A little bit of forward scouting. Sonic Arrow at work. He manages to go ahead and spot a few targets for himself, at least give a little bit of information back to his team as well as far as the placement of the defense here for Florida Mayhems. And already connecting with shots, and that's how it's done. The scat arrow point blank on Swoosh, and Swoosh is so far ahead, it's going to make life very difficult here for Zupa to get him back into the fight.
Cool Matt's going to bully them out, and he's not even going to chase that down. All they want to do is make space right now. The bongo music is playing, and that just gives them the rhythm of damage going on. Eventually, it will dissipate, but they continue to push forward. The only person really making any sort of impact has been Tavik. Logic's got a kill or two, but these supports and tanks are going to have to start making plays of their own if Florida wants a chance.
I'm very curious to see where Cool Matt will elect to use the self-destruct. This high ground, he can try and plop it down here and cut up this team again. And there it is. We do actually have one of the valves getting called out. That is going to be Manny. Self-destruct still not used here by Cool Matt. Waiting so patiently.
This is Matt's style on D.Va, though. He's not going to go for the enormous self-destructs. He understands that his game sense allows him to protect his team much better. He plays D.Va like a tank, not an assassin, knows that his defense matrix is going to create space, and when you have the DPS behind it, like Jake and Linkser, why not?
This could be the moment. Well, we shall see as the pressure gets put on here, poured on by Florida Mayhem. The Primal Rage batting people around left and right, and once again, tank mode, mid-air shot. No way did he hit that. Disgusting. Raucus finds the kill on Zupa, and if there was someone he wanted to snuff, that was certainly it.
Tire has gone down though, so Muma now off of the payload. They're still trying to get some damage back here. Jake trying to stay alive so that he can get his tactical visor up. If they can desuit this D.Va, it might be go time, but Bonnie falls. That's tough. I think it still might be go time, even though they lost their supports. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Manatee can just soak some damage. Really, you want to kind of avoid just putting shots into Manatee. That's just going to give Zupe a free ult charge at this point. But you want to avoid, you want to keep that Valk out of the fight.
But you do want Manatee out of the mix because the visor can get shut down by it. They do get Manatee out of the mix, out of position at least. Jake will pop off that visor. Tavik will be the first to fall.
And now Manatee on the edge. He is getting focused here by Jake, and this the self-destruct gets pulled, but difficult to imagine her finding any kills with it. And sure enough, it's Muma and Linkser instead to find the kills in the end. Linkser pushing forward, drops Swoosh, and now it's spinning out of control here for Florida Mayhem. They have been very healthily staggered.
This is where Widow can be absolutely brutal. Shades of last point of Gibraltar. They don't have the resources to send to go deal with Linkser, so he simply feasts on the remnants of the damaged heroes on the cart.
Super solid, super comfortable here for Houston Outlaws, and Florida Mayhem now kind of left wondering what it is that we need to do. Did we not switch up fast enough in the streets portion of the map? Second point. Not really able to get anything going for themselves on the third point either. And so back to the drawing board here for Florida Mayhem.
The issue is rather simple. It's that Florida never want to fight there. And if you don't want to fight against a Bastion, they're never going to switch off of it. You need to win a fight and stabilize, take over that position so that the Bastion can't get set up again. That never happened. Raucus had a little bit of an interesting play style on that Bastion. A lot of times we call it the pirate ship because Bastion sits on it and it's just the cart will drive him to his point. But he was playing odd angles. The biggest downside of Bastion is people know where you are and you can't move. That's generally a bad thing in FPS games, not being able to move. But he was all over the place, kind of sneaking around, taking untraditional angles, and they never want to fight, never were able to stabilize. Perhaps they needed a Roadhog or a Junkrat earlier. A Junkrat can pressure him out, a Roadhog can hook him, something to deal with the Bastion, because that is the core of the Houston Outlaws offensive composition.
Particularly like at the very beginning on first point when he got up on top of the cars. You know, overlooking wide field of view, bit of high ground as well. That was clever, not something we see too often. So moving into it now, 25 seconds left, and we'll get to see exactly what Florida Mayhem have in store for us. It's looking like a bit of the same here, like they want to run the Outlaws strat against them. You would think, though, that the Outlaws would know how to handle this sort of play.
Well, generally, yes. I would not be super surprised to see the Outlaws try to play this close. Right now, take an eye onto Raucus as you see him there. He's just going to try to stay hidden. They need to check these houses because what Raucus wants to do is pull the Bastion off. He will call that full, and they will essentially try to dive that Bastion, then reset up near the cart to not allow them to ever get going.
Well, there it is. Manatee not quite going to find that Diva target. Unfortunately for him, he is just feeding ult charge at this point. Needs to be a little bit careful about his angles. And there it is. Jake, will he survive this? Encounter with Jake, certainly not. Jake makes quick work of him. The Swede is gone. Manatee getting the follow-up here, or looking to find it. Brock is not going to be able to get out. Intact Zupe with such a big target can hardly miss.
He almost got out of there. He will get res, so it will not matter. Manatee now in trouble as he takes a duel with Matt. Zupe will de-mech Matt, though. Now the tanks are running in tandem on the side of things, but Raucus so low. Oh, that clip just runs out.
Oh, wasn't able to get on the health pack. Was trying to close the angle, and so Manatee able to take advantage. Zupe, however, will only just now be making his way back to the point. Mid-air hook, gone fishing. He got exactly what he was hoping for there, Manatee, and he is getting healed up now. It doesn't matter that there's a trap on the ground, locking him in place.
Take off denied to the Jake Rat, and they will get this going. Now it's a matter of where can their Bastion set up. Defense needs to win another fight to stabilize. They're going to have a tire, and if Jake can find the correct angle here, I think he should be patient because there's a lot of ground to cover between where he's going to be and where they're set up right now. They will probably give a lot of ground and then come out and fight when this nears the edge of the door.
All right, fresh shield. Zupe is able to melt Muma. Linkser, however, wins one fight, and Muma back into it fairly quickly, and the tire! It couldn't be better! Jake, the patience plays off. You're exactly right, Hex, and he sinks 3 players into a world of hurt.
He pops that tire any earlier, and they have angles to shoot it down. He comes up over the top. They're not able to react on time, even with the fragile tire, and that defense has completely stabilized. Sometimes you have to give up 100 meters to take the fight. That's exactly what Houston did. Beautiful play.
So clean. And Florida, they're rocked now. They've even changed up the strategy, realizing that they won't be able to get that Bastion back in position easily enough. Decided to change it up for the dive strategy instead, and so we'll see if it's going to be effective here. Still running the triple tank on Houston Outlaws side of things with Linkser, of course, and Jake. I mean, just so much firepower here for the Outlaws.
Who's ever going to get back to pressure Linkser is the question here. He's going to be hiding so far back. Vic was going to try to find an angle and get around, but he gets shut down rather quickly. Resurrection will come down to Zupe. 90 seconds remain. If they're going to commit to this fight, they have to decide if they're going to or they're going to reset. Florida's got nothing to use in this situation.
Solid work here from Cool Matt staying alive. One thing exactly he was waiting for it. Logix was spotted, and Logix goes right into the waiting arms of Jake. No recall to save him. Or in fact, the recall ends up costing him.
Matt just has the great game sense to know when anyone's in trouble. He's got Spidey sense behind him. Zabo dies early in this fight. He needed to stay alive. This is coming down to their last push for Florida. Zabo will finally have ults. Their ults are just now coming back online, and they're gonna have to push into a lot here. The question is, they still don't really have a great answer for Linkser as he gives Logix a departing Widow's Kiss.
My ultimate is almost ready.
This is exactly what you were expecting to see, though, from Linkser. Making himself a very difficult target to collapse on, and he's even getting some shots onto Zebasai, making sure that Zebasai can't get too comfortable. Jake looking for the wraparound. Tire not quite canceled out. Was trying to find the mercy, but he will not in the end. Zebasai will get the res off onto Vic, and so the Tire only going to get that out of the fight. Still, Linkser with that supercharger. Kind of want to stay in range with that, the damage boost, but hey, he doesn't need it, but he hits headshots.
The Tire The Tire put the fear of God in them, and they had to use the Valkyrie early. Zebo wanted to get higher out of range. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, buddy. What a finish. What a finish from Linkser.
I mentioned before, he's finally found his home, a nomad in Overwatch up to this point. Started out his career in a team called Flat Earth, moved over to Creation, was teamless for a while, found his way onto Gigante, won a tournament with them. Here he is in the Overwatch League. If you didn't know his name by now, that's Linkser, and he will make sure you know his name.
He is an absolute beast, but really everybody stood out on Houston Outlaws today. Cool Mount with a very patient diva play. Jake with the Junkrat. I mean, with a whole variety. Jake still showing us how deep his hero pool is.
he played well on everything. He's a jack of all trades. He's not going to really scare you on anything, perhaps except that Junkrat, but he plays a 76, played Tracer, played Genji. You need players like that on your team. Linkster can also play all those things, but then you have the problem of taking him off his Widow. The tank play continues to be a great part of the Outlaws as well. They built this team around their tanks, and you can see why.
Nah, remarkable stuff. But a clean 4-0 here for Houston Outlaws. Exactly, a bit of an applause there for the crowd.
Not only 4 O's, but 4 0-0-0. There was a lot of zeros on the board for Florida. Need to go back to the drawing board a little bit. After their win last week, they now have to try to find a way to get their momentum back.
As clean as it gets, and guess who we have on the floor now with Zoe? It is Jake. We'll get to hear all about it now. Zoe, it's all you.
Thank you so much, guys. Jake from the Houston Outlaws is now joining me down on the floor. Yet another win for you and your team. You coming off 2 wins from week number 2. Now you're having the first win in week number 3. Gladiators coming up next. Do you think you can continue that streak?
I think we're going to get another 4-0.
Okay. Is there anything Gladiators can do to actually stop you? Like, let's analyze them a little bit. They performed really, really well themselves this week against the Valiant. It was a really big battle for LA. You're not worried at all?
I think the biggest thing about Gladiators is that they're a strong team, but their style is predictable. They really have one game plan, one style, and it's kind of obvious. So I think going into that with preparation is going to make it a little bit easier for us.
All right. The audience doesn't agree, is that correct? I heard, no? Yeah? Okay. Oh, well. You know what? You can prove it to us in your next game. Anything you want to say to your fans?
Just thank you so much. You guys are the reason we're out here. You guys are the reason this Overwatch League thing is so much fun.
You guys are an absolute blast to watch on the stage. Can't wait to see if it's going to be a 4-0 against the Gladiators. You heard it here on the floor. Jay coming in with confidence for the next matchup. But before any of that is going to happen, we're going to break down the last match on our desk.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Is that man not the most marketable person in this league right now? Jake, phenomenal performance throughout this series as Houston edges out the Florida Mayhem 4-0. Let's get into the action. We got Bren, we've got Reinforced with us once again, and we're going to take it back to Ilios. This is game number 3, and things started off well for Florida. I felt like I said that a lot in halftime. We saw Tavik coming out on the Tracer. Meanwhile, Logix was sniping on Ruins. As this game played out, though, it started to get a little bit hairy. Let's roll some of the highlights here. And, Bren, let's start things off here. What did you see from Linkster early on from the Outlaws?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, the guy was ridiculous all around, to be honest, on this map. Like, yes, Florida Mayhem took it to 99%, but Linkster was the reason why they didn't actually complete up that round for various reasons. And we might see it in this general highlight reel here as to his play. You were right, Puckett. Tavik had a great standing, but Linkster, this is the guy to watch for, right? His Dragon Blades were absolutely ridiculous, and this was the winning moment, actually. This is what stopped them on that first initial round from actually closing it out entirely. It was generally, he stayed alive for about 30 seconds, I want to say, to be honest. Being kept alive by Boink as well on the Mercy, really just all around doing fantastic stuff and stalling it out when it was 99% in the overtime.
Why did Florida lose that game in your eyes, Johnny?
Well, it has to come down to multiple things. I mean, you have a support line that necessarily didn't have the best game, and also comes down to the tanks. But it's hard when you go up against the DPS of the Houston Outlaws, you know, especially when you have Linkster doing all the plays, etc. It's hard to go up against that kind of style, especially when we see in Florida now prefer a bit more of a slower approach. But then, as we've talked about, the Houston Outlaws has all the time in the world to set up these kind of plays. And throughout Ilios, I think that Jake and Linkster, again, were the people to shine.
So after Ilios, we see the match is now officially over. It's a 3-0 in favor of Houston, but we're going to play out all 4 games. And Houston, they didn't lay off the gas. We're going to open up here with a telestration. And Johnny, you're going to walk us through how the opening picks happened and how it was the Outlaws on the run.
Yeah, so this is pretty basic stuff, but I want to put it out because it's textbook, okay? So Houston Outlaws in this case, they're playing a double sniper composition. So we have Linkster on the Widowmaker on your left, and we have Jake on the Hanzo on the right, and Raucus on the Bastion. So as we're going to see Florida Mayhem come out of this choke right here and try to pressure the payload, there's so many threats on this Houston Outlaws lineup. So Florida Mayhem playing a slow composition, they can't really deal with it. We're just going to play this one out. And we're going to see Logix coming out to the left, going to contest Muma, and then realize this and actually go for Linkster, But there's just nothing that Florida Mayhem can do in this case, because the positioning coming out from Houston Outlaws is so beautiful. I mean, the coach Tyrone, he's one of my favorite coaches overall because of his strategic, incredible game sense, and of course, I mean, this Houston Outlaws team has improved so much over him.
Now, John, before I get to my matches tonight, and I just have every Widow and Hanzo on the planet queuing up with me, what's the secret to success on that initial push from Junkertown? Is it the solo heal?
Yes, I would like to say so, yes, but there's so many threats, right, coming out of Houston Outlaws, and you have so much damage. So the Florida Mayhem team, they can't really push towards the payload, because then you have to deal with a Hanzo on the right side and a Widow on the left side. And if you just walk up the main streets, then you have a Bastion just sitting there shooting at you. So you can't really do much unless just sit back and perhaps get a few lucky picks.
Houston with some big picks today, and it was so tough for us to decide our player of the match. Jake went off. Raucus was amazing on the Zen, the Hog, even the Bastion, as you saw in game number 4. But our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. It's going to the young Finn, the former Gigante champion, now playing for the Houston Outlaws and putting highlight reel after highlight reel together for us here in the Overwatch League.
Yeah, this was honestly the scariest thing about Linksa was the fact that he wasn't even playing at maximum potential in this match. And yet he still popped off. He still got the kills he needed for his team to succeed on the Widowmaker, on the Tracer, on all sorts of roles. This guy's so flexible. I like to think of him as akin as kind of like the European Pine in a way. But the fact of the matter is, he plays it, yeah, but almost better because he plays more often. Like Pine, you really only bring him out in control. But Linksa has that potential, and like we still haven't seen it when he's playing at that highest, that peak, that pinnacle performance.
Calm down a little bit, okay? I mean, he's getting all of these highlights. You can't say that there's much more to it than
no,
this.
there is, Johnny. Were you there for Contender Season 1 playoffs, mate? Did you see him on Gigante? Did you see the stuff he was doing? We haven't even seen him at his strongest yet.
Now, we should say, per 10 minutes, Linkser leads the league on Widowmaker with final blows. So much damage done by this player as well. He is officially our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. Very impressive stuff from the Houston Outlaws, from 0-2 now to 3-2 as we take a look at the overall results. Impressive stuff. If you missed the day, go back and watch every single VOD, starting with the good one as we opened up the day with Boston Uprising upsetting this big matchup here. London Spitfire shocked in this battle. They lose at Game 5, Pine on the bench, and you know that's going to be some interesting stuff for New York to bite on as we talk about that second match. They also fall at the hands of the Philadelphia Fusion. Outlaws walking away with the 4-0. What was more surprising, guys? Uprising versus Spitfire, or seeing that second match with New York falling to the Fusion?
I'm actually going to say Philadelphia beating New York, because we hyped up New York to potentially be... Oh, Brent, said that New York was the best team in the league, so I quite enjoyed watching them go down to the Philadelphia Fusion.
But here's what you got to understand as well, Johnny. Specific teams have better matchups when it comes to it. I still believe that New York Excelsior are one of the stronger teams, but Philly's aggressive playstyle, clearly New York weren't prepared for it. But yeah, I agree with you. That was the biggest upset of the day.
All right, we got 6 teams now with winning records. Keep your eyes on the Boston Uprising, the Gladiators, and the Shock, who are all right behind them. Here's a look at the action tomorrow, though. We get a chance to see the only unbeaten team. It's the Seoul Dynasty facing off against the NYXL to open the day. Shanghai takes on the Philadelphia Fusion, and Dallas Fuel looking for their first win as they will face off against the San Francisco Shock. Before we go, guys, real quick thoughts. What is the match of the day tomorrow, and why should everyone tune in?
I mean, I'm looking out for the Shanghai. No, it's Seoul Dynasty versus New York match. Who am I kidding? It's finally we're going to see it happen, and I'm looking for Seoul to actually show that they're the best team in the league.
Okay, all right, you're gonna make that point. I actually personally am looking forward again to the Seoul versus New York Excelsior, but for different reasons. I feel like New York Excelsior, they're gonna be prepping hard for this match. They have been prepping hard. I know they have, as a matter of fact. So this is going to be a fantastic game. You don't want to miss it tomorrow.
It's going to be incredible. This was day 10. That means we're halfway through stage 1. The action continues tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you tune in. Once again, it's on MLG.com, not MLG.tv, MLG.com, and Twitch.tv/Overwatch League. Thanks for tuning in today. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow.